Hi, this is Art Matters, New York. I'm Hans Witschi, and we are gonna have a presentation today of one of our group members. Mark, who is it? And take it away.
Thank you, Hans. We're gonna look at the work of Christine Penksa, one of our own members. Christine works in a variety of media, has been working in a variety of media, and has stumbled upon something quite personal and unexpected, which I think you will enjoy. She's made a very interesting exploration, and her discoveries along the way, I think, are particularly interesting.
I'm very curious. Let's go.
Let's take a look. This morning, we are going to look at a piece by our own Christine. Let's get right to it. So, Christine, do you want to talk about these a little bit? I think we know, I mean, maybe you can fill in our audience as to what these are.
So basically, they're pieces of parchment paper that originate from making homemade pizza. What we do is we roll out the dough on this parchment paper, and we bake the pizza. And when it's done, it ends up with this beautiful paper that's really burnt on the edges, but underneath the pizza it tends to stay fairly white, but it, with a little bit of texture and a little bit of coloration there too. So for many years, I've been making this pizza and always noticing how beautiful this paper is, but, in the end, just crumpling it up and throwing it away. And I guess about maybe a year ago now, I just decided to just start saving the paper. And then I just started ripping it apart and then making collages out of it. And, the strange thing about these pieces is I feel like it comes from someplace inside when I create them. I almost like am in another world in a sense. Like I just start sitting, I sit down and it's almost like a meditation, and I start ripping. I don't even consciously do it in a sense. And I just kind of place things around and for so far, every time I've sat down to do it, I always end up with something that I feel is a finished piece. And I feel really satisfied with it. And a lot of them actually have meanings to them as well. Like I look at them and I feel a message coming from them. So it's kind of been a really interesting, like almost like a little bit of a spiritual process. So I'm loving doing these. And I feel that I'm not quite done with the series yet. I want to keep going, and I still feel like there's more to come. So for instance, with this latest one, one little interesting thought about this latest one is that this is not Reynolds brand. I hope it's okay to say that. So I actually was in a bit of a hurry one day and needed parchment paper and picked up a different brand because I didn't have Reynolds. So this one is almost all not Reynolds, except I did the small triangular piece on the right side. That is an old piece of Reynolds. So anyway, it's a little bit of trivia about it. And I did find that this newer brand, though, is a little more delicate. So I do prefer the Reynolds. So I'm going to hopefully go back to that some points, because if it's too delicate, the burnt pieces can actually disintegrate a little too easily.
I love the fact that you point out the difference between different products and different materials, because that really is so important in an artist's, in what an artist does, in an artist's work. The difference between, paint qualities, different manufacturers, different papers, is essential to, if you're, a watercolorist, or if you're using gouache, or if you're using oil, whatever, the quality of the paper, the quality of the canvas, all of these things are super important when you're dealing with paint, with a material, with a thing, that you want to control or you don't want to control, whatever it may be. The nature and the characteristics of the material is super important to an artist. So I love the fact that even with regard to pizza, and producing these burnt, semi-burnt pieces of paper, that it becomes something that you are aware of, that you're sensitive to. And I think that's really great and interesting. I also have a question, and that is, you said, these are almost like automatic. They have, that you almost get messages. You're not really thinking, you're in this other, space when you make these. So I wondered if it's just the quality of the material, the way that it, the color changes, when it's burnt, the things that happen. If it's that attracts you to the material, or if there's also something about, you knowing that this great, satisfying food, is part of the process in some way, right? Or do you divorce that aspect from it? And it's it's just aesthetic.
I think it's related, actually.
Yeah.
I love the process of creating the pizza too. It's like, for me, that's almost a work of art as well. And it's something that, like, my husband and I will do it together. And it's just like kind of like almost like a fun little ritual, to make this pizza. And it's homemade. It's all from scratch.
Okay, so I love that. That, it includes something that is personal and important. It has to do with your husband, with your family, with eating. So all I have to say with regard to that is I wish that you could bring that aspect of it more clearly into the work of art, okay? I understand where these works come from, your aesthetic and abstract sensibility, your sensibility about the quality of the material, but I would also love for you to bring in your biography in some way, that's more available and clear to us, to people that are looking at it, because I wouldn't necessarily know that, which is why I had to ask you.
Right, that's interesting.
Yeah. So if there's a way, and I don't know what it is, but if there were a way to bring, maybe even a spot of tomato sauce, like, you know what I mean? Or a little string of cheese across. I mean, whatever it is that you're sort of winking or acknowledging that this is also a part of it, I think would be interesting.
Okay, I'll keep that in mind. So, I mean, just over the years for me, like I've always been very busy, just with my family and, my children, trying to make dinner and, just everything that I'm involved in doing. And so I like the idea that this came out of the work that I was doing. So I to me, that's meaningful too, that, like, and it might be a message to other people that, you might think you don't have time for something, but, use what you have. That's part of your world. That's part of what you're doing.
Yeah. See, that's so great. And it's so important. And it's so much a part of art making that people forget,
Yeah.
I have an idea, and I see words assembled with this piece. In some way, if you could incorporate words or sections of words, I think it might come across.
Actually, Phyllis, the first one I did does have writing on it. So that's really interesting that you said that. And I actually, I do feel words associated with it. So I think that's so interesting
to speak about, and some words would take us to that area.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good point.
Like, for instance, this particular piece, when I finished it, for me, it had a meaning that, I see actually water flowing through the piece. And I see a section at the top that almost is like a rapids, like a rough water section. So I don't know if you can see it up here, right up at the top. I almost feel like it's like a drone image. So looking down, and I see this, for me, I see this, this river flowing through that starts out very rough with rapids and comes down and becomes very calm and peaceful and then flows right off the page. So for me, it was actually, just a commentary on life in general, that, you go through these periods that are like rapids. And then you also then move into periods that become very peaceful and calm.
Yes, I think it
might lead you to writing a poem about it.
That's a great idea. Yeah, I love that idea.
For me, it looks like you know, like tectonical plates.
Mm-hmm.
I would say the tectonics of the microcosmos in a way, you know.
Mm.
Right. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I like that. I like how it's composed. It's very gingerly, even it's proper gingerly put together, you know, in a way. I like that. There is a delicacy in there. It's very, it's something, your compositions calm me down. They don't, you know, have the effect of roughing me up and make me angry. You know, they are
Mhm.
like very calming in a way. And I like that. You know, you could also, but you could always say it's a moon landscape, but it's not. It's actually more. There is human in there. I see Mark. There, I see personality in there. You know, I feel the body sort of. You know, it's not a cold planet I'm looking at in a way. In my perception,
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's very interesting. Why I can imagine how you rip these things apart, and it's basically, yeah, a very sort of destructive in a way process. But then you put it together, and I think it's yeah, they are very beautiful pieces.
These are all very, very consistent and beautiful, very calming, as you say, Hans, but deep. But they have a
And
resonance.
yeah, right, no, and not boring, you know.
No, not boring at all.
You know?
Yeah, not boring.
I have one question. Christine, did you ever apply paint to this kind of work?
Yeah, there's actually one of them that has a tiny bit of gold paint on it. I was experimenting with gold paint, and I ended up just leaving one line of gold paint on it. It was from maybe a few weeks, about a month ago. I think I sent that one in. So yeah, but I haven't gone further than that. So I might like to try color.
I agree with Heinz that they are very painterly.
I agree too. What I love about them is that I feel like I'm in like Utah or Arizona, and that these are just like big rocks or big tectonic kind of plates. And it's just, I love your sense of composition. And I love how you use the different papers as, you know, because they have color on them. You know, I just think it's just so well done.
Oh, thank you.
I believe also it's very interesting. You know, here we could really talk about monumentality. I think it's really American art in a way, you know, as Mary.
Yes. It brings
that's really
Georgia
very great. You
Yes.
can see the White Sand Monument,
Right.
or you can all these huge landscapes you have here in the United States.
And the deep and the deep dark shadows that are cast by monuments, you know, in the American landscape, as you say.
Yes. It's very.
It does feel American. It really does.
Yeah.
It is American.
Yes.
A Swiss would never do that, you know.
Exactly.
Interesting.
They would never make a pizza, or they
would make a Swiss cheese sandwich.
Right. They make a fondue, you know, they make a fondue.
But you know, I'm really fascinated with the way this fits into your life and your lifestyle and the certain domesticity, but yet it's transformed. I mean, it really is transcended and transformed.
If you didn't know it was pizza paper, would you guess it?
No.
There you go. That's where the wonderful transformation comes in.
Well,
I think,
yeah, but yet there's this other context that I think is really important.
True, but in the piece itself,
no, I would never know.
Neither would
no. But that's why we're talking about it, because I think that's an important part.
It could be included, I think.
Yeah.
What would you think it is? I'm just curious.
I wouldn't think about it. I would just think it's some sort of paper that's burnt. You know, I wouldn't.
I would think that
But
it
there
was
is
like
a paper
coffee,
there.
coffee stained paper, I would think. I don't know. It just sort of reminds me of those colors that you would get with coffee. I don't know.
You know, you could also burn on a, like, let's say newspapers, and you
Yeah.
get also very strange,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
some a paperish thicker material, and you get also, you know, something charcoaly or whatever.
But it's the transformation that's so interesting.
Yeah.
And maybe if something else were there to indicate its source, the transformation would be more obvious.
I find it fascinating. You know, it's really interesting that it, you know, it's food related, it's related to family, it's related to time. You know, here's this, this byproduct that is not, that is recognized for some kind of aesthetic value, right? Which is the paper, is not being thrown away. So all these elements are super interesting. Well, great.
Thank you.
Very good.
Thank you.
Christine, thank you so much.
You know, I think you're doing what you're meant to do when it just is like, you just get pure joy from creating it. And it actually, in a way, is very natural to create it. So for me, this is kind of created with ease and joy. And I think that means I'm meant to create this.
And eat it.
Yeah, and the pizza's pretty good too. I'm so glad to see everybody, and I will. Thank you. Nice
Great
seeing
work.
everybody.
Nice work. Nice work.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's just so wonderful. Like, if I was doing that in isolation, I mean, it just would be completely different. I mean, just to have the feedback from everybody, it's just
like eating the
amazing.
pizza with others.
Yeah, it's such a huge difference to be able to have everybody to give their input and to let me know what they think of it. And
You're giving us a
it's great.
taste of your work.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Beautiful.
I,
See you next week.
yeah,
Bye.